Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Elevated Marketing Podcast. My name is Jennifer, and I have with me
Brenna Jackson. Hello, hello.
We like to simplify complicated digital marketing topics to make your business grow. And today, I don't think this is really a complicated digital marketing topic, like maybe in the sense of not completely knowing all the ways that people would search for the name of your company. It might seem a little bit more obvious or it might not, but we'll find out. What is not obvious is, Brenna, if you could live in any country, where would you live?
You know, I don't think I would necessarily want to live anywhere else. I definitely want to travel, but I'm pretty content here. I am proud to be an American, as Toby Keith once said.
Yes. Oh, I haven't done a whole lot of traveling outside of the country other than like Cancun, which I think we decided pre-show is not really a different country. I want to go to other countries, and I don't know about live, but just visit. But I get overwhelmed really quickly. Like, this could be my only time that I ever go here. So I want to see like everything. I did this with Italy. And just decided like, oh my gosh, if I'm going to spend this kind of money, like I need to see it all. Different types of vacationing, right?
Sure.
All right. If you are confused with me wearing a sweater, it's because it dropped below 75. And once it does that this time of year, I get a little cold.
Talking to lake homeowner over here who thrives in 100-degree weather.
I need it to be warm. Okay, so I think really I always like to start with the like how and where and why, to measure people searching for you by the name of your company. First of all, it's a good thing. I think sometimes people might think of it as a negative in a sense of, well, I want to get to the people that don't know me. And I agree with you 100%. But at some point, you're going to build up like this big like marketing funnel of people that know who you are, that when they do need a product or service, they will Google you by your name, and all your other marketing, like we've talked about in the past, it's not the last beer that you drink that gets you drunk in marketing. It's all the beers will lead to brand searches, right?
For sure. Well, I think too, I mean, if people are getting to, and maybe I'm jumping ahead, if people are getting to your website through searching the name of your company, in the long run, that is also helping SEO. So just because they're searching for you by name and getting to your website that way doesn't mean other people won't be able to find you through other outlets as well.
No, I don't think you're getting ahead. When people do search for you by name and they start coming to your website, because they're searching for you by a certain subject and a certain the name of your brand, it's because they know that you're a trusted resource because you've been putting out a lot of stuff. But we always start with like being able to measure. And so Search Console is going to actually be your best place to measure that people have searched for you by name. And when you look at that, then you're going to know that you have maybe done an increase of certain types of marketing that caused you to have an increase in your brand name being searched. And before I go too much on a tangent, anything you want to say about that? Or I want to talk about like what actually got me to think about this and be like, okay, we need to like make sure that we're looking at a certain type of marketing a certain way.
Yeah. Well, I think with Search Console, looking at the queries that are bringing in traffic for you, you want to have that on comparison mode when you are ready to look at this, just because it will kind of help you define, okay, what have I worked on in the past 3 months that has led to a spike in brand searches, or any other, maybe term that's getting traffic to your site. But Search Console, I agree with you 100%. It's really useful for this.
And I entered this conversation because of the world of going back to where we were before, where there's this zero-click marketing and there is not as many direct clicks happening that we were used to in previous decades. Boy, that's really dates me. But social media marketing, a lot of people with TikTok and Reels, and that's just one form of zero-click marketing that we have talked about before. They're watching this information and there's nowhere to necessarily click. And so when I'm measuring the success of social media marketing, which is where my brain started this conversation, I need to look at, do I have an increase in brand searches because they're becoming familiar with my voice and they're listening to me over and over, I hope. And if they're not, like, I don't know, I'll try harder. But you're going to have an increase of brand searches just from social media marketing because the platforms want you to stay on their platform. They do not want you to click. All right, I'll shut up. Go ahead, Brenna.
Well, I think along that line with social media marketing, one way you may be able to maybe settle any hesitation if you're wondering like where this traffic came from and thinking it came from social media, look at your organic social media metrics too and kind of align those together. Did you have an increase in engagement? If so, I mean, that's maybe a telltale sign that the zero-click marketing that we're talking about is bringing traffic to your website.
Which you just pointed out, triangulated data analysis that we always talk about, trying to keep the platforms honest. Speaking of honest, influencer marketing?
That I think influencer marketing is somewhat of a gamble. It really does depend on the community these influencers have built and how honest they are with their community. As a consumer, I guess I should say, trusting an influencer is taking a gamble. But
yeah. I mean, I'm not going to be influenced by influencer marketing. That's me. I always choose like the different path. And so like, understanding who your audience is and whether or not your audience that would buy your product or service would use influencer marketing. That's not what we're really talking about here today. We're really just talking about, could it increase people searching for you by brand name? And the answer is yes, absolutely. Because influencers are, again, using social media marketing. So it's almost somewhat a sub-brand. And we are not experts on influencer marketing. We've never been experts on that. But I would consider it like a sub-brand of social media. And there's going to be an increase in searches for your brand because of more talking happening from people who, quote unquote, have audiences and influence.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I will say with influencer marketing, a lot of times if you look through the comments on some of these videos, you're going to see a lot of other people agreeing with this influencer and, oh, I've tried this before and I loved it. So it's just another form of word of mouth per se.
Yep. We're going to get to that one in a minute. I think the next one is a little bit surprising, wouldn't you say?
A little. Yeah.
So SEO. Search engine optimization. How is that going to increase people searching for me by name? Well, it really just goes, what we kind of said in the beginning is people become to know, like, and trust you because a big part of SEO is content marketing, which is doing written blog posts and video with YouTube. And so people start to Google your brand name plus a certain subject, and that is going to increase, SEO, and they come in and that increases engagement in your website. And it's like this cyclical. I always want to put in a hard word. Like putting it in there that it's going to build that as well. So,
Yeah.
I'll let you take the next one.
Yeah. PR, public relations. There's coverage with PR for sure. And maybe on behalf of your company, there has been maybe an article or some sort of press release, maybe something on social media, and people are going to search you by name through that. So maybe it's not coming directly from you, but it is coverage about you. And so people are, of course, going to search for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is really important in today's market with SGE, search generative experiences. And so having that PR and list building and things like that is going to increase people searching for you by name, because they might not necessarily, even in SGE, there's not always a click there available. The recent thing that I've seen is with social media and having the results be right there, like to be able to ask questions to an AI quote unquote bot. And then answers are given, and they don't always give credibility to the sources. Now, I've seen LinkedIn obviously pulling in Bing, because Microsoft is owned by Bing, or Bing owns one of the two. I can't remember. And then LinkedIn is part of that space. So you might then go see people like Google you by name, because they can't click through, but they remember that you had something that you posted on social media that was of similar, and they already know, like, and trust you. And so they're going to go there as well.
Yep.
Boy, that was a mouthful. Okay, one of your favorite subjects. Go ahead.
I feel like I have to take this one. Email marketing. We know email marketing is providing this consistent communication, but what can result from this is maybe an afterthought. Maybe someone has opened your email, they read through it, but they didn't click. They think about you a little bit later on, they're going to Google you. Not to say that you please include your call to actions with your UTMs in your emails. I think I can speak from experience as a consumer receiving an email. A lot of times if I go to click something and it pulls it up like in Safari, but still through my Gmail app, I don't really like that. So sometimes I will go Google what I was trying to get to in the email. But yes, that is my spiel on email marketing.
All right, I had to pause there for a minute as I cough and die for a minute. So the next one I know I have to take is paid advertisement and running ads on Google, social media platforms. Yeah, that's going to increase your brand visibility as people Google questions and answers and they see you on social media. There's going to be like that type of like effect that they'll remember. Same thing we've been kind of talking about. But there are also like certain types of paid advertisement that you should pay attention to that would increase brand searches. Would be Performance Max. So when you run a Performance Max, which is a particular type of Google Ads program that we've talked about before, it could go sideways if you don't set up certain filters to make sure that you're only bidding for your brand name. And so you're increasing that. And the only reason I would bid for your own name is because when you do searches, other people are trying to bid on your name, which leads me to the next one, which is a competitor campaign, which I just said could be good and bad. If your competitor has a lot of brand searches, then it's going to be a great idea to try to take market share from them by running a campaign. Just make sure you have a landing page that has this, like, here's why we're better than the competition, and, like this comparison type thing. And then the last thing, just going back a little bit, not completely old school, like connected TV and podcast advertisement and streaming radio. That is brand type marketing and trying to get them to remember you, that good old jingle and what have you. They're going to end up Googling you potentially later because they need to get to your website in order to learn more about whether or not they're ready to buy yet.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I'll let you take the next one.
Yep. So events and webinars. So maybe you're hosting or even participating in a webinar, maybe a podcast, a video, whether that's live or not live, some sort of video content where you are providing valuable information. I think it's really common for a lot of people to say, oh, go to elevatedmarketing.solutions. People aren't always going to remember your URL. So they're going to Google you. And if you're providing valuable content and insight, then they're certainly going to, find a little bit of trust and want to learn more about you. And then,
and they might also Google the name of our podcast, Elevated Marketing Podcast.
Very true.
And so they might want to learn more about that, or maybe some of the live shows that we do, like Small Biz Chat on Fridays, shorts, webinars, like all of those that we're doing. I guess our live shows are really our webinars. We don't necessarily do webinars, but many B2B companies do webinars. We have several clients that do that. So that's going to increase people searching for you by the name of your brand. And so you have to look that up. So all right. So referral programs, when you're partnering, we did a show on, creating demand. So you're partnering with another company. That's one thing that I think about. And so, we have a local agency, shout out to Clever Dogs Media, that, we get recommended by them and we recommend them. And that's going to create that word of mouth marketing that, hey, these are great people. But that a lot of times comes from being at events, getting those awards and things that you might get from public relations. And so you generate this word of mouth to have referral, but you might actually also set up a referral program.
Yeah, very true.
So what else do you think about when it comes to referral programs?
I think with this, especially when bringing Google into the mix, this is pretty much the topic of today. Google My Business is so important to have as a business, whether you're local or not. I mean, it's going to help define what you do, especially for those who are just coming from word of mouth and maybe not super familiar with you. Google My Business, they can read your reviews, they can look at, the services that you provide. You're going to have all that info on there. And so I think that's really important to remember.
Yep. It happens on social media when people like tag people. Sometimes they're going to do the @ symbol and they're going to tag like a company, but people get busy and they'll go Google you later. So that's another way, like tying in reviews, like you're talking about, can increase people searching for you by your brand. The next one seems kind of obvious. Brand partnerships. It's got the name brand in it. Like collaborating with some other like well-known brands can increase your exposure. So, us collaborating with Lorraine Ball on Fridays with our Small Biz Chat. She has an audience, we have an audience, and so that co-branded like type campaign, which we call Small Biz Chat, can introduce people to a new audience, leading to more searches. So
yeah, and with that, I also even think about like maybe you're sponsoring an event. It's not necessarily a partnership in that sense, but you're still partnering for the day at least, or however long that event is.
I think we've said this last one a lot. Content marketing, like producing, relevant, consistent blogs, videos, infographics, to your target audience. I mean, content marketing, you can't do marketing in general without content marketing.
Yeah.
Like it's part of it, like creating content in different forms. So of course that's going to increase people searching for you by brand name. And I just, want to tie in here as I wrap it up that attribution of they did this exact type of marketing and that's what got me to get them to buy it. You can't put all your eggs in the same basket. We've said that over and over, and we're giving you all these ways that people could search for you by the name of your company. But yet some people still want to give credit to the last thing that people do. And that's just not how marketing works.
No, it's not. It's, an all hands on deck effort when it comes to all these different branches of marketing. And, content marketing is the start of it all.
All right. We're always worried about, do we have enough to talk about content wise, but we can talk, right, Brenna?
Yeah, sometimes maybe a little too much, but
that wraps it up for now on this topic. We certainly appreciate you listening. If you want to rate and review the podcast, we would love for you to do that in order to make sure your friends or fellow marketing people or owners of companies, whatever, are able to listen to our show. I just thought of like the shout out that the Franklin Chamber said they were listening to our show on the way to work. So I'm just going to shout out to you. If you hear this, you have to comment on social media. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Of course, we have our newsletter. We're so close to 40,000 subscribers. I'm so excited for that.
Pass it along.
We're on all the socials. All right. Take care.